King Hezekiah reigned, and the sun moved backward in the sky. It did not set. It simply, the planet stopped revolving in its current direction, and it moved backward about 10 hours worth, of almost half of a revolution. And then whatever gravitational wave or passing space body affected it, it released it, and then it continued to move forward in the same direction. At that very same time, 705 BC, according to our current calendar, the ancient Chinese, who were great astronomers, they recorded that the sun set twice in the same day. It set, it rose back up from the west, and it set again. Now,
that sounds like we were doing the moving.
Right. Now, during that time, before that time, we have discovered, it is very well documented over hundreds of years. There are historically 15 ancient calendars that were discovered before that time, that existed before 705 BC.
15
ancient calendars. Every one of those calendars has 360-day years. Every calendar is based on a 360-day year. After that event, every calendar for the next 5 years, all around the planet, all the civilizations changed their calendars. The Assyrians, the Chaldeans, the Egyptians, the Hebrews, the Persians, the Greeks, the Chinese, the Mayans, the Hindus. There's every civilization that existed during that time over the next 5 years readjusted their calendars to 365-day years.
Something happened. How did they know this?
They knew it because the stars didn't line up. In fact, they took various approaches. It was very interesting. Numus Pompilius, the second king of Rome, recognized the original calendar, but he added 5 days per year to it to adjust. King Hezekiah, Numa's contemporary at that same time, reorganized the Jewish calendar in a very bizarre way. He added a month each Jewish leap year on a cycle of every 7 and 19 years to make up the adjustment. Other civilizations made different adjustments as they saw the rotational speed of the Earth change as it moved around the sun. So over the period of the next 5 years, all the civilizations caught up to 365-day years. And today, we have 365-day years, but we didn't have that in the immediate past. Before 705 BC, they were 360 days.
That is amazing.
So it just shows you that not all global catastrophic events, it also shows you how frail we are. We don't know what caused that, but we assume it was a passing space body because we are no longer near the galactic plane like we're approaching now. So if something that small, a passing space body, could cause that, obviously with enough gravitational pull to affect the planet, as our entire solar system passes through this gravitational plane, we expect massive upheaval, as we're starting to see with the earthquakes. And then as we pass through it, we expect to be bombarded by series of small asteroids followed by larger asteroids as we continue to pass through it. The asteroids, of course, are the dust and the settling matter along the dark rift. And this is where I come back to your question about wormwood. Mm-hmm. The prophecies that you're talking about, the one that specifically mentions wormwood, it mentions that after it talks about a series of events, starting with a pole shift of no less. The exact wording would be similar to the sky recedes as a scroll when it's rolled up, and every mountain and island is moved off of its foundation. Well, if you look at the planet and use terminology that you don't have scientific terminology back then, but if you use whatever terminology you have and you say that every mountain on the planet and every island on the planet is moved off of its foundation, that certainly sounds like a pole shift to me.
Absolutely.
What we expect in our model is exactly what the prophecies then indicate. Now that your atmosphere is stripped, it just said it rolled away like a scroll, you are at risk to incredible solar radiation or CME blasts. And what is the next prophecy in this series of things? You have literally, if I can, let me find. What I would like to do is I would find a phrase that describes that particular event. Here it is. Let me read to you a phrase from one of the prophecies that you're referring to, and explain it. And hail and fire followed, mingled with blood, and they were thrown to the earth, and a third of the trees were burnt up.
Good my.
Okay, now, remember, they don't have scientific terms. If you rip apart the atmosphere of Earth with a Poleshift, you are now exposing the upper atmosphere. If a CME blast from the sun, coronal mass ejection, now makes it to the Earth because its magnetosphere has been altered. In other words, our quote, what is protecting the Earth is now down. We are easily susceptible to the solar winds. In other words, the CME from the sun. That is the fire. Also, as it approaches the upper atmosphere, the 270 degrees minus Celsius temperature of the outside frigid space now touches the upper atmosphere, which is basically water vapor. It would suddenly turn to ice crystals instantly. There's your ice. The hail, which is ice, and fire, the CME, are mixed together and mingled with blood. You're looking at a sequence. It is now moving toward the Earth. What is instantly vaporized? These 43,000 airplanes that are flying at any given moment, and all the people aboard, plus all the flying birds and animals in the air.
Gone.
So in other words, there's your mingled with blood, and then it continues. What does it do? It continues to make it to the deck, and they are thrown to the earth, and a third of the trees are burnt up. In other words, this is a great sequence of events to describe a simple CME blast that literally fries a third of the planet.
But the fact they were able to predict this is scary.
Now, the next sequence of events is what we would also expect. You have small asteroids hitting the land, hitting the sea, followed by a very large asteroid, what is referred to as wormwood. Now, this is the really interesting part about wormwood. You wanted me to give you my take on it. It seems to be a significant. Now, how do they actually? What divine information presents? What divine information they acquire in order to give you an exact sequence in such extreme detail that science can't even begin to touch. I mean, I'll have to leave that to you for right now. But they discuss wormwood not because it's significant so much, but because of what it does next. A very large, what is like a star or an asteroid, falls to the Earth, and the very next thing that happens is a third of the day and a third of the night don't shine. A third of the moon, a third of the stars, a third, etc. But this is not an obscuration.
Right. It's not like dust in the air.
No, because dust in the air is described next, and it uses different words. This is actually a speeding up of the planet. The asteroid wormwood actually hits the planet at an angle, so our Earth speed no longer is 365 days. And we now know that it is very simple to alter the spin of the Earth because it happened 705 BC. So basically we have a whole sequence of events. How they could know anything about this is beyond human kin. I'm just telling you that just right up front. So prophecy is absolutely amazing, but what is more amazing to us is we created a scientific model, a very precise scientific model. And we see that these prophecies model very precisely what we feel this model would present.